Hi, this is Farrell. Welcome to my video and the page 13 of issue 2 of Robot Todd. Yeah, this page took me a little bit longer than even the last couple pages, which took me a little bit longer than the previous pages. I think it's been like, I don't know, a couple weeks since I've posted on here. I just finished this page last night. That was just the little quick thumbnail I did. In case you haven't seen one of these videos before, I usually do like little warm-up drawing and with a Sharpie for each page that I'm working on. And this is about the halfway point of issue 2. I think there's about like roughly 26, 28 pages of story in each issue. Yeah, maybe even 30 if you count the covers, which I've been using, well, starting with issue 2, I've been using as a part of the story. So the rest of the issues, there's going to be 5 issues total of this series. And each issue, except for issue 1 cover, each issue is going to be kind of tie into the next chapter. So this page here, or the last page, we had Robot Todd. You can see on the left there. Oh, actually, that's the previous page, but on the page is kind of like above. He was kind of swimming around and kind of went through the exit that the fox showed him. And here I'm just sort of, I did the thumbnails and I'm penciling here with just a mechanical pencil, like a 0.5, whatever, standard mechanical pencil. And yeah, here it's like pretty much laid out, ready to ink. It looks like those pencils are pretty much solid. I think one of the reasons this took me a while with the pencils and everything is that I wasn't sure about the third panel. Like I knew I wanted him swimming, and I originally had an idea of him swimming next to like a big fish. You can see in the thumbnail there that there's like a big sort of like whale-like, alien, weird-looking mutant fish thing. Well, my hair's doing an interesting thing there, sticking straight up. Yeah, here I am inking it, and yeah, so I changed the third panel from that just sort of like fish creature, which I might use on the next page. I think he's eventually going to be like swallowed by this big fish, like a Jonah and the whale kind of thing. I don't ink the backgrounds typically. That's like the way I've been doing these pages in the series. Is I'll ink the foreground characters with one of these Faber Castell Pitt pens, size S or XS, one of those. I just did the lettering with a size F, and yeah, and I'm not sure about this dialogue and lettering. I have to adjust a lot of that in Photoshop, but I'm gonna probably redo some of this dialogue here. That was another reason it took me a while, is that I would sit there and look at what I wanted. I didn't want it just to be like some blank pages like I'd done, previously. I wanted there actually to be some kind of like thought going on with Robot Todd. I thought that might be like a good way to like attach or sort of relate a little more to the character, but I don't really feel like I've gotten his voice quite right. You can see I did like a wash on the bottom part too, and the watercolors on the last panel took me a while. Actually, on all the panels, I feel like I maybe overworked it a little bit, but it just kind of wasn't coming together. It's flowing as easily as some of the previous pages have been. Yeah, sorry, I'm like jumping around here a lot, but yeah, the idea was that I just wasn't happy with that thumbnail in the third panel, in the sense of, I mean, I like the drawing okay, but I felt like it needed something else. And I was looking at this Frederick Peterson book that's like a silent comic basically, where it's like all these splash pages, and I did a post about it recently on one of my Patreons. It's a really cool book, but I can't remember the name of it, and I think it's in French anyway. So which I don't remember what the English translation was of it, but I don't think there is an English version of it, because it's, like I said, it's just like a silent, like a pantomime comic. If that, they're almost like a series of I don't know what you call, like just one. They're all related images, but anyway, so that's neither here nor there. Back to my my stuff. Here you can see I'm just kind of trying to punch up little details, and instead of doing like a wash over the whole thing, I left the the little sea creatures white, and I left the little sort of like the jet stream that he's coming out of this. Todd's coming out of this pipe. I left that white so I could go in and render later. And you can see here I flipped the page upside down to kind of let the gravity work for me when I'm doing the watercolor washes. And yeah, I just did, one wash over each one of them, and then I went back later and worked into them. And the paper kept getting like a little too wet. I just kept having too much water, and it started to pick up a lot of the paint. So I had to go in with a dryer, like a hair dryer, and dry the pages on my last painting session. You'll see that a little bit later. But this is like I guess the first sort of, it's not finished stage, but it's like the first or second or third pass on it. So there's like several nights of detailing and adding washes, and there's a couple nights I missed too, just because I've been wiped out with like other work and a lot of life stuff lately. But yeah, here you can see this might even be close to the last session. I think some of this stuff is maybe from last night or the night before. But yeah, I'm using watercolors on this. In case you haven't seen one of these videos before, I watercolor these things, and I do a little bit of ink with the Faber Castell Pitt pen. I even sometimes I'll mix a little bit of ink with the watercolors. I don't like doing that normally, but it's just kind of like if I have ink in my well, like a little extra ink in my well, sometimes I'll use that to supplement. But I've found that just over the past couple years that it's just better to use black watercolor if I want black in there, rather than, or some kind of complementary color, some kind of like green and red, alizarin crimson or something, to get like a darker black, or like blue, some kind of dark blue kind of works good too, rather than just like flattening everything out with black. But I thought on the third panel, like going back to that like looking at this Frederick Peters book. Yeah, did I say Peterson before? His name is Peters, Frederick Peters. I'll put his name in the description and look up the actual name of the title of that book and put it in the description too if you're curious about it. It's a really cool book. But he had like a cityscape in there. It was kind of like a post-apocalyptic cityscape. And since I've already had post-apocalypse cityscapes in this like Wrenchies world or It Will All Hurt world, and I even in this Robot Todd comic in the first issue, you can see some of that. Sort of like ruins of some kind of ancient futuristic city. I looked at this Frederick Peters book and I was like, oh, that's a cool panel there. I didn't copy the panel, but it was kind of like inspired this, the third panel, like, oh, I'll do it underwater. I thought that would be a cool idea to have like buildings underwater. I always like that in movies and stuff like that, when you see like a city that's like submerged. And I thought that would be like more visually interesting than just kind of like the just like field of water, which I've done several times at this point in this book already. I thought it might be a neat thing too for like the next page to have him, Robot Todd, like swimming in front of like a building and see like a reflection of through a window of him and like a fish or something. So that's kind of the fun thing about taking my time working on this, is that like while I'm working on one page, I often get ideas, like visual ideas, because the story is mostly written, but while I'm working on one page, a lot of times I get like, oh, I could, ideas for like a background or like a panel change or dialogue change for like the next page. So that's kind of like a good motivation to keep working on it, is that it's like having those like little exciting moments of like, oh, cool, I get to work on this thing next time. You can see there too that it's being covered up by the page now, but I pulled out the hair dryer, blow dryer to dry the paper so it would stop picking up the paint, so I could reapply fresh paint without it getting all like murky and everything. But this is pretty much the finished page here. There's the last little pic I took before I scanned it. And there's the scan of the finished page, page 13. So thanks for watching this video. I have a Patreon here. I was trying to time that. There we go. That came out. I'll see you soon.